Quantum Zilch. I'm Dennis Regan. I'm the host. I wanted to start today's episode off with a robot report and a little lesson on cliches, but there's just not time for all that kind of stuff now. So I'm going to move the robot report, the VQRR, to the next episode, and I've already moved the lesson on cliches to episode 298, which should be right about the time I'm getting back from the one-man South Pole expedition. So let's just start off today's episode. Today's episode we're going to do a segment called, a very popular segment called The Adventures of Dennis Regan. The Adventures of Dennis Regan! Okay, today's adventure is called Flip Kick. And it happened about 3 weeks ago. I was in Kansas City in a hotel downtown. And I woke up on Saturday morning about 10 a.m. I was very hungry. Needed to get something to eat. So I started walking around the area there, the neighborhood, downtown. And I passed this courthouse. It's the typical kind of courthouse with a bunch of landings and steps, and there's all these kids skateboarding on there. There's teenage kids. There's 15 or 20 of them. And they're all guys, except for there's one girl. There's one young lady there. She's skateboarding. I guess it's pretty much a male-dominated sport, skateboarding. But I'm watching them, and it looks pretty cool, and I'm thinking, I'd like to do that. I always said, you know, it's never too late. I'd never skateboarded before, but you're never too old to start something new. So I'm watching them. They're all pretty good. The girl's pretty good. The guy, but there's one guy who's really good. He's the best. You can tell he's the best. Everybody was calling him Nicky. His name was Nicky. And he was doing this thing. He was doing this move where he would get going really fast on his board, and then he would somehow jump up, and he would get elevated, and he would start to ride the hand railing down. And first he was backwards, and then he would spin around, and then he would ride forward down the hand railing, the whole length of the hand railing, and then he would jump off, kick the board up in the air, and he would do this kind of like, and then he would just land on both feet and just grab the board, snatch it with one hand. Like, wow. It's really amazing. So I go up to this kid, Nicky. I said, what do you call that? What do you call that trick, that maneuver? He said that's called a double pop flip kick nose grinder with a 360 spin grab. I said, I'd like to try that. He said, really? I said, yeah, I'd try it. I said, would you mind if I borrowed your plank? It was right there. I was just trying to pretend like I knew the lingo, and I was just taking a shot that maybe they called their skateboards planks, but that wasn't the case at all. But it didn't matter. He was cool, and he said I could borrow his board. And he was even telling the guys, "Say, make room for this guy. He's gonna do this trick." So, but I asked him. I said, "Look, I've never been on a skateboard before. I've never done it. Would you mind giving me a couple of pointers?" Because I always say, if you're gonna learn from the best, and he was the best. So he gave me a couple of pointers, and then I went back over to the place where he said to start, because I wanted to get a big running start. And all these guys were very supportive. They were cheering and clapping. And I did that. Started doing that thing. I don't know what you call it, where you have one foot on the board and you do the thing where you start moving, try to get. I don't know what they call that trick, but anyway, that's what I was doing to try to get velocity. That's how you get your velocity up. So I was doing that. And everybody's cheering. I guess they admired my grit. So I get over the steps. I'm going pretty fast. I get over the steps, and I'm flying over them. And the problem was I didn't have the elevation I needed. I wasn't high enough to get the board up onto the railing so I could ride it down. And I was trying to think. I don't know how to do that. I don't know what to do. So it's amazing what will pop into your head sometimes in situations like this. And the only thing that popped into my head was do a somersault. So I started to do a somersault, but I don't know how to do a somersault. I'd never done one before, and I never had any gymnastic training or anything. But I'd seen I'd seen things done on the Olympics and stuff. So I just started to twist my body in a kind of way that I thought what the somersault was, and I started to move, and then I was able to get my hand on the handrail, which was good because that gave me the elevation, which I was trying to get. But then I completely lost my balance, completely, and I came smack down hard on the handrail with my collarbone, my clavicle snapped, and I could hear it. And then I flipped forward and fell over the hand railing there, and then I came crashing down on the concrete steps. First my tailbone, and then my head smacked hard back up against the other step. And then the board comes and smacks me right in the jaw, cracks a couple of the back teeth back there. So I'm just laying there, and I'm like in pain, and I'm thinking, I can do this. I can do this. I'm thinking, I just need to get the elevation at the beginning, at the outset, to get me so I can ride the board down. So I'm trying to get up, and the guys are cheering. They're very, very supportive. I'm telling them I want to do it again. Except the girl was not supportive at all. She was even trying to grab the board away from me, which was not cool. And then she says, "You're too old." She says, "You shouldn't be doing this." And I looked at her and I said, "You know what? You're as young as you feel." And then I asked the guys if they would carry me over to the starting position so I could do it again. They did. They were, like I said, they were very supportive and carried me over there. But she wasn't. She said she didn't even want to watch. She wasn't even going to watch. So anyway, I get over there, and now I'm going to start again. And I know it's going to be harder this time because of all the injuries that I had sustained in the first attempt. But I'm doing that thing where you get your velocity up. But I know I'm not going to be able to get my velocity up, so it just doesn't feel like it's right. And I'm going to be going too slow when I get to the steps. And then the most remarkable thing happened. Out of nowhere, this guy, one of the guys, comes from behind me and gives me a push over towards the steps, over the steps. And it was plenty. It was all the velocity I needed. I guess you could say he was the wind beneath my wings that day. And I'm flying over the steps. But the problem was, I still didn't have the elevation that I needed to get the board up on the handrail. So here I was, I'm in the same kind of predicament. I'm in the same predicament as I was a few minutes before, but now I'm not even as limber as I was at that time because of the injuries. So, well, without going into all the details, I'll just say it was a very bad result. And anyway, I'm laying there on the sidewalk, and I'm a bloody mess. But you would have thought, from the way the kids were cheering, the way those guys were cheering, you would have thought that I had completed the move and stuck the landing, and I guess they were just trying to give me an A for effort. But anyway, I was able to get up, drag myself back to the hotel room, and I was got in bed, and I'd laid there for a few days, I guess. But I learned something that day. I learned a valuable lesson, and it's one I want to share with you. And that's this. You should always eat a very good breakfast. Breakfast is the most important meal of the day. You should always eat a good breakfast, especially if you're going to be doing something that's physically challenging. Physically challenged like I was doing that day with the flip kick. So anyway, that's the end of Flip Kick and the adventures of Dennis Regan in this episode of Quantum Zilch. I hope you learned something. I hope you learned something about skateboarding and nutrition. We'll see you next time. In the meantime, take care of yourself and look out for each other.